Welcome to the first week of MyFunded TV. This is the show created not only to entertain and to engage you, but ultimately to make you a better trader. Every single day, Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. For now, tease, it might get a little longer. But from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m., we will be diving into charts. We'll be diving into ideas. We'll be diving into setups. And ultimately, we will be diving into the chat. This is a show that's created for you. It's created alongside you. We read every single comment that comes into the chat. So be active. Tell us what you want us to look at. Symbols, questions, setups, etc. We are here for it. My name is Luke Jacoby. I am joined by a cast of expert traders. I'd like to welcome onto the stream Miss Bull Barbie and Mr. Forrest Knight.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's up? Happy Tuesday. Not the most
happy Tuesday. Happy tax day.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Got a call.
Yes, hopefully.
This morning, yeah. Did you guys file yet?
Yes.
Yes and no. Mine's in process.
Yeah, I'm in process too. My extension.
I did get tracked down for a document last minute. We already got that done. So.
All right, great. You made it. Well, given that this is only episode 2, our inaugural week, I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourselves to the audience again. Barbie, I'm going to send it over to you first.
Sure. I'm Bull Barbie. I started trading in 2021, kind of when everybody was during the post-COVID rush. Although I actually started investing in stocks in high school, I'd never really learned how to manage kind of the intraday, and I'd always wanted to know how to really manage my portfolio better and do day trading. So I took that plunge in 2021, and these days I'm making a living and supporting my family doing it. So I'm excited to help everyone else who is interested in that find their way.
Awesome. And Forrest, over to you.
I'm actually a dragon in disguise. No, I'm kidding. So been trading for a while, since my early 20s. Started at a retail brokerage in like a rotational program. You know, I've done a ton of different ventures, you know, throughout the years, but, you know, started as a swing trader. Time frames kept getting shorter and shorter. You know, I made a ton of money all at once, both in my career and in the markets, which really jump-started my day trading and really let me, you know, lever up on in terms of being a speculator. And yeah, I've just, you know, been trading ever since. Now a full-time trader, not really a full-time trader. I also have a media business that I'm an executive for here in Miami, but yeah, do trading, YouTube, and yeah, I love it.
Awesome. We have yesterday, I would say when we started our stream, the market was a little bit more exciting than it is today. That said, to open us off and dive right into it, I'm going to ask each of you to just give us a take of what's going on and break it down for us.
Sure. So what I was kind of looking at the same thing where we've opened up kind of quietly, but I kind of came up with a plan that if it happens today, great. And if it doesn't, we could still kind of see some of these things happen later in the week. The big item that I was noticing today is at 1 o'clock Eastern, we have a White House press briefing. So I'm going to try to stay out of the way of that. But what I was really watching, we still have this gap down here from yesterday. I marked those levels. Even though we filled that gap, I'm still kind of watching that zone. What happened yesterday is the buyers really defended the zone and bought things up as soon as we got back in there. So I'm still kind of watching this level. I still have this magnet level down here at 24. And I was looking to see if price comes back in here, if we kind of chop around in here, and if it can make it out of the bottom of the gap. If it can break these lows, you know, just from yesterday outside of the bottom of this gap, then I would be looking for price to, there's not a whole lot to catch us in here, maybe a little bit of support here in the 5370s, but it would really be kind of a hard drop down to 5330 or 5300. Although since this was bought up so fast, this is my less likely scenario at the moment. The other kind of breakout that I'm looking is on these highs up here. So we had the, I labeled this was an old swing low that we tested yesterday. And if we kind of retest those highs, I'm really, it's basically the 5,500 level. We're right at that century level. If we start testing that, I think we can real easily climb back up to retest this other high up here into the 5,330 area. And I did want to note, we actually have a gap up here on the daily from when we initially had that really rough drop. And I can go out to the daily in a little bit, but it's up here around 5,550. So that's kind of my bullish scenarios. If we can get over these highs to potentially test that gap and see if we can get inside of that gap at all. However, with it being kind of the shorter week since we have Friday, the New York Stock Exchange is closed on Friday. I'm wondering if we're going to end up chopping today or have the potential to break out, since the heavier news is kind of still with us later this week. So that's what I'm looking at on ES, potentially today and maybe even into tomorrow a little bit.
Awesome. And Barbara, you mentioned the White House press briefing at 1 p.m. As we know, that could have some pretty significant impact. I mean, would you trade your levels ahead of that or around that?
I usually don't.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm looking for really with data or anything really volatile like that, I am mostly watching, because what I want to watch is what levels kind of hang us up. So I want to see if we have a rally in this level up here around 54, 86, 87. If that holds us, then that's something that I can potentially play the aftermath of, really. So I'll look to see if any of these levels are something that it will really hold the market if we get a catalyst like a news event or the press briefing. I won't necessarily enter at those levels, but I'll be watching to see if a play is developing there that I can then take once price settles down a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yep,
Very nice.
It makes sense. And Barbie, I'm going to ask you for the most interesting chart of the day in a minute here. In chat, a note for you, a segment that we run every single day is the most interesting chart of the day to get us started in the morning here, trying to bring some excitement and something different to you. But Forrest, over to you. How are things looking this morning?
How do they look? Very similar to yesterday. I would say more a continuation of thematically kind of the muted open. I mean, we're not open yet, but you can kind of get a read for the filling of things. I'm on the daily right now. Always start here. So yesterday we dipped down to that previous POC level that I mentioned. We bounced it, then it kind of just settled in inside of that range there. So if we go to the 1 hour, we can kind of see how that story played out, right? So pro tip for anybody, you can use the replay tool. There was this naked POC down here, right? 53.94 on ES, and on NQ, it's really the similar setup, right? So it came down and then it kind of just rested inside, right? So we had a D-shaped day. I'm expecting more of the same, honestly, just based off of the overnight setup. If we go over to NQ, look at the same thing, right? I had this POC. I took a long here, sat in that for a while. Nice little trade. Today, honestly, I mean, it's not as exciting. I don't know if we're going to get a really good setup today, is my gut feeling. We need to see, just because of the way that I trade, like this level's already been tested. We could come and retest this prior day low, right? So prior day lows are always on the table. We can unmark this. Let's actually just reuse this line, and we'll just label it the prior day low. The issue with this prior day low is that because we had such a tight day yesterday, this could get cracked, then we could come down into this low value area down here, test these lows, things like that. So I'll probably just be waiting for volume, honestly. So either at one of these levels, so either prior day low or the prior day high. Overnights are both inside of yesterday's price action, which to me is just too tight. Like we have this prior day point of control and this overnight high here at 19,044.25. Probably it's too close to execute off of. So I would really just say, there's this prior day high, and then we have this other level, which is still untested. Right. So that's really what I'm looking for today. In terms of like which way is it going or a bias. I think we're just going to have another tight day, honestly. So patience is key.
What does the chat think, though?
Yeah, what do you think, chat?
Chat, do you think we're going to have a choppy day? Can we have a breakout still today?
Let's hear
Maybe
it.
the market just goes straight sideways.
Yeah, we could end up having a really flat day today. Bubba says chop. We could definitely chop heading into that press conference, especially. Everyone's always a little afraid of what's going to be said. We get that.
We don't know which direction either. Forrest, so like, what is the 1 p.m. White House briefing or I guess some sort of segment where the president will be talking to for you?
Mm-hmm. What does it do for me?
Yeah, let's say between now 9:13 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. How does that impact your decision making?
From a setup perspective, I don't really. So I think of news events as kind of like a fast forward machine, right? So the market is going to basically do what it was always going to do, right? Because candlesticks are just a story of people's positioning, right? So like there's a ton of people positioned up here. We can see on the volume profile, there's less people positioned down here, right? So whenever any news events, whether it's 1 o'clock, someone's talking or something, right? As long as you don't like change the underlying fundamentals, which is possible, right? Obviously the tariff situation kind of changes things, right? Outside of that, it kind of just fast forwards any thesis that you'd have anyways, if you have one. So
I like that, the fast forward button.
Yeah, because I don't really like, to be honest, like I haven't read the output of a single news event in years as a trader. I literally just expect.
Well, that's what I'm always pointing out to people. Like, even if we know the result of what the news event or whatever is going to be, what matters is actually the market's reaction. And we don't know what the market's reaction is going to be, even if we know the results of a data drop or something. So what the market actually does is always more important than trying to figure out what the data is going to be.
Exactly. And so like, if I had a strong thesis on the day, then my answer to you, Luke, would be like, it's just going to run. It's going to quickly run to my level. But because today is probably going to be a chop day and a tight day, I don't really think 1 o'clock is going to be that meaningful today, to be honest. We'll see.
I was thinking that's going to be when it kind of shakes loose. So whatever we have going can kind of shake loose at that time. If the market's wanting to go somewhere and it doesn't have the volume, we might get the volume at that time.
Definitely. Yeah. And again, like you said, it's a shortened week. So there's a lot of wonkiness this week. If anything, what I imagine is Thursday, I know we're looking ahead in time, we might get like that the overnight going into Thursday might be pretty interesting as the weekly candle, because it's going to close early essentially.
Yeah.
Don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But yeah, today is a low confidence day, just in terms of like a read. Like I don't have any strong read right now. Whereas yesterday I was pretty confident it was going to go and retest, that prior POC. Or
I was just looking at the calendar too, and it looks like tomorrow's going to be more exciting on the calendar anyway. So we'll see what can shake loose.
What do we have? Core retail sales
and Powell's tomorrow.
Yep.
Powell will move the market. That's for sure.
Yeah, Jay Powell. We got
Jay Powell.
And Thursday is a big one too.
With unemployment. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
That's one of Jay Powell's favorite numbers, so that would be why.
Yeah, he's got two that he likes. That's one of them. It's 50% of what he's looking at, basically.
Yeah.
All right, Barbie, I'm going to send it over to you for our most interesting chart of the day. And I'm going to give a shout to the chat as well to let us know, what are you trading? Drop that in the chat. And also give our stream a like as we're on day 2 here. Wednesday is our big day where we go live with promoting our stream very aggressively. This is sort of like our soft launch, but we're letting the world know, our social communities, our email lists, etc. Tomorrow is the day. So give us some feedback. Tell us what you're trading. Tell us what you want us to look at. And as always, give us a like. And so, Barbie, I'm going to send it over to you for the most interesting chart of the day.
This one actually caught my eye last night, but I wanted to show it to you. So Webull has IPO'd, and they had this monster move off of their IPO. And this is something that I'm going to watch. It was kind of funny. I was joking in the chat yesterday. Robinhood is definitely their competitor. And when Robinhood IPO'd, that would be Hood. They went kind of nuclear and then came back down too. But I was joking in our trading community yesterday about how Webull is going to be better Hood as far as the stock goes. I just like them as a trading company better. I think they value their traders a little bit more, their clients a little bit more. So I'm interested to see how Webull does. They immediately launched up to almost $80, and they're coming down now. You can see them in pre-market. We're down to 53, 52, somewhere in there. So I'm not a big IPO trader, but what I do like to do is kind of let all of this craziness happen and then see where the dust settles and see if I can kind of get a good buy-in somewhere down after the dust settles. So we're down at 53 right now. I don't totally have a level on this right now, but kind of the most interesting part to watch would kind of be this kind of first flag that broke, and we could get down into the mid 40s. That might be interesting. But I just thought this was it's something that's definitely going to be talked about a lot on social media. So it's definitely worth knowing about this chart and kind of keeping an eye on it, because this could be something that you could add to your portfolio.
You're just looking to buy long-term, right? If I understand correctly?
Yeah, it'd be kind of a speculative thing, something new that you could put in your portfolio, especially if you're holding something like Hood, where, one of these more retail style brokerage companies. And Webull is definitely a big competitor. They have futures now coming up and a bunch of things. They've been making a lot of changes. So that's on my watch list for sure.
I have a futures account over there, trade options over there as well. I do like their UI was phenomenally better for a while.
That's what I was actually, I set up, I set up one of my kids with an account over there for options when I was teaching her how to do things, because it was just really simple. So
yeah, and I'll say I've got a little bit of a Webull story too, in that I met the Webull team before it launched publicly, like maybe about 10 years ago or so. And I called them to congratulate them on the SPAC merger going live. Was that last Thursday or Friday? And they've executed amazingly. They had some serious pride in what they've built over the past decade or so. And they've been just such a wonderful team at doing what they say that they're going to do. And you mentioned like the futures trading as an example. They've spun up asset classes, they've educated users. I mean, not from a stock perspective per se, but just from a company and in operations perspective. They've been a great one to know. And again, when I spoke to them post SPAC merger, had all the confidence in the world of continuing to execute. I'll also note that Robinhood is my largest single stock position as well. So certainly bullish on the space.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, retail traders are becoming just huge in general. I think, we have more resources. When I started just investing in stocks, it was $10 each way to place a trade. And so in a small account, I started with a $2,000 account. I just didn't have room to mess around. So I had to buy and hold, because I had to make that $10 up on a really pretty small investment. So really $20. And now we have, Webull has a lot of free trades because they're making money on the spreads and things. And it's made it way more accessible to just everyday people who can't fund a $25,000 or bigger account. And that just opens it up so massively.
I don't think people understand or appreciate how hard it used to be to even start trading. Like
that
the
was
fact
what
that you can just
discouraged
start trading on your phone is crazy. Like you used to have to go physically somewhere and sign paperwork and get approved.
Or make a phone call to place every trade.
Is your heart beating? You look like a trader to me. Let's get you in there.
Yep. Yeah, I remember my first account was a Scott Trade account, if anybody remembers that one. Bought by somebody, maybe TD Ameritrade, but my dad had to take me into a physical branch and sit there and fill out pages and pages of physical paperwork in order to get an account set up.
Well, my first trading account was actually an account that my dad got frustrated with and abandoned. He had a client that talked him into setting up an account with this small brokerage, and they ended up getting bought by E-Trade later. But he immediately lost a few $100s and was freaking out. He's like, I don't want to do this. This is stressful. And so he was like, you mess with it. And so I did. I invested his little account, and then he later gave it to me because it had made a bunch of money. But it was just a way different world. And then I talked to traders who came before me, and they were literally placing phone calls to their broker to say, I want to buy this. Even in futures, for a futures trade, you'd have to say, I want to buy this much of NASDAQ or this much ES at this, and put the trade in over the phone. So it's companies like Webull and Robinhood who are, I think, just breaking that barrier. Then if you want to get more nerdy and complicated like I do, you can get onto NinjaTrader or Addis or something like that.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of futures, let's do a little bit of charting.
Let's do it.
Barbie, you want to get us started? You already have your screen on?
What are we looking at? Just what's happening for the day?
Yeah, you gave us your rundown on ES. Would you mind doing the same for NQ?
Well, I haven't charted out the actual levels on NQ, and what I kind of end up doing is even if I'm trading NQ, I'm watching where ES is relative to the levels. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll put some quants that are really the same on both. And one of the ones that I like to use is the fire lines. So I'll just kind of compare where they are. So this is a quant level system that has a value range and then some targets outside of it. And because it's calculated kind of, based on the ranges that these stocks are making, I can kind of compare them. So this is a different answer to your question, but what I'll do is I'll watch if ES is coming down to this value level down here, which I was watching. I was watching to see if NASDAQ was going to bounce in the same area. So this is kind of my, maybe it's lazy, but I think it's work smarter, not harder. This way I can focus my time analyzing ES, but then trade anything that's kind of a sister like NASDAQ or is just related like the tech stocks. And that's where I'll hit options and things. So I'm really kind of looking for the same move to kind of be made. And I think Forrest kind of summed it up well too. It's like, unless we start breaking outside of this is, you can see the volume down here where our price was yesterday. Unless we really start breaking outside of the prices that we made yesterday, whether it's on ES or on NASDAQ, because it's really kind of the same deal. There's our price range from yesterday. We've still really got to get outside of this range to get interesting. Otherwise, the market's not really making any progress. It's just hammering. This is the way I look at it. Like, here, progress was made, levels were broken, some point was made, because then we kind of reclaim support here. But we're not likely to do that today unless we can get something exciting happening that will send us either over these highs from that would be Monday, and that's why I wasn't sure. That was the gap up. So we really got a double top on NASDAQ there with our Sunday open and then yesterday's high. So that's a really clear level to watch above. And then below, this would be kind of that main level there. So we'll see if we stay in, if we have an inside day inside of yesterday's price action or can break out of it a little bit. But that is kind of the main watch as we open the market up here. What have we got? We got 3 minutes or so left before the market officially opens.
Yes,
Yeah.
3 minutes.
We'll see. You can see why I don't have all my quant levels on at once. It gets kind of crazy, but that's one of the ways that I'll use these quant level systems, is to kind of quickly compare. It helps you get perspective on what's going on.
And I remember yesterday, Barbie, you mentioned the death cross.
Yeah.
Did it stay crossed or did it uncross?
It is still crossed. So since this is a daily chart, it could take us a little bit, but we're going to have to get over that 5,500. I'm on NASDAQ right now. So on ES, it's the 5,500. And on NASDAQ, it's looking around 19,250 or so. the 19200s. So we've really got to get above that area to start affecting these EMAs up here. So we'll see if we can do that. Again, as far as the morning session goes, we don't have that catalyst that's likely to give us the volume that we need to make a move like that, but we certainly could get it yet this week. So that's kind of one of my main watches, is to see if this indeed develops into a death crossing we reject off of the ES 5500 and the NASDAQ 19200 area-ish, or if we pull through those and kind of correct this death cross.
Awesome. In chat,
oh, we got someone looking for a rejection
on NQ.
Yeah, he wants a rejection up here. We could certainly get it. This is going to be resistance up here, 19200, and that's on ES would be about 5500.
Yeah, we just closed this 1 hour high volume bottom wick on NQ as well, and ES. Just poking around here, so we're probably going to come and test this 19,041 pretty quickly, I imagine, and then we can see what we do from here. So this is what we call bimodal distribution right now. There's just two modes.
Tell us what that means, Forrest.
Yeah, so without getting too deep into it, there's just different shapes of the volume profile. That's all that it really is, folks, right? So a D shape, if you think of like distributions, is like this, right? It's like something's normally distributed, and then you have like one standard deviation in there, right? So most of the data is in the middle, right? You could have other types of distributions. You could have a distribution where a lot of the data is here, and then a lot of the data is here. Then you could even have another mode where there's more data, right? So bimodal just means there's two lumps in this. And in terms of volume profile in the day, that just means that it tends to chop, and then it'll push up to the other side and chop on the other side. It is still market open here in 16 seconds. So there's not a ton of volume. This is all just overnight volume right now. So this will probably get filled in. But in general, each one of these volume profile shapes can give you an expectation about what's going to happen on the day or happen next and things like that. But right now, I do expect us to come a little bit higher and test some of these levels here. But
we are open.
Market is open.
All right.
So this is when I like to watch both the NASDAQ and the ES and see if they have agreement when we first get this open. We don't have it yet.
Let's see what we've got here. Just going to leave the daily open over on this side for some context.
I think people think this is weird, at least new traders. I keep the daily open while I'm day trading all day.
Yeah. I think it's important, especially in this environment. It's something like the VIX is still pretty high. I'll jump over to the VIX right now. So when the VIX is this high, even something like the 15-minute is a pretty fast time frame, right? The 1 hour is a pretty fast time frame. So if you're someone who's used to trading like the 5 or the 1, when the VIX is this high, it's like trading the 1 second chart in a normal environment. So having the daily open, to your point, is just smart because it's going to keep you grounded in like what is actually reasonable for the day.
That's a good way to put it, is keeping grounded.
Yeah, I'll see people like, especially in my own community, and have to put people on blast, but it's like at the literal most probable high of the day, they're like, I'm going to go for 500 more points. And I'm just like, that's extremely unlikely, right? If you just look at the daily candle, it's like there's no way it's going to do another.
I like to look at the daily candles and see where they possibly could form, because then you can get quick levels off of that real quick. And it keeps you in perspective. I think we were talking about this yesterday some too, where you have to kind of always keep what perspective move we could make in your head, so you know where we could possibly go and how big it could be. That's how you determine your risk, and everything else is really the ranges that we could potentially get, or how I do anyway.
Oh, the same. Yeah. I mean, I tend to, I don't really have any, I guess in terms of risk, I don't have any fixed risk parameters at all with my trading style now. I kind of just, there's either the setup is there or it isn't. But like every single trade that I get into, I do know like what price my thesis fails at, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's important too. I think a lot of people, because I get asked all the time, where do you put your stop? And they're expecting me to tell them in points where I put my stop every time. But my stop is going to be based on the candles and the levels and not the ticks or the points.
I have a hot take, actually. I don't know
I want to hear it.
what part we're supposed to be on right now, Luke. But my hot take.
Takes are always welcome, is what I'll say.
And this is what I say. So I don't know if any of my communities here, anyone who's watching my YouTube, but I don't believe in RR. I think that RR is an observation. It is not a trading tool, right? So it's like, what is a good analogy that I could use? I can't think of one. I'm usually quick with them. But the point that I want to make is, like, you have some thesis, right, about what's going to happen in the market. For example, I just said that we're probably going to crack this level here. We just touched it, right? Just based off of this 1 hour that closed high volume bottom wick right here in the morning. So my idea or my thesis is that we're going to come to this price. Where that would fail at is probably going to be if we retest. If we retest this candle low, it doesn't make sense that it's going to, come up to this level like it just did. Right? So basically I could have a trade where, say, I entered long at this price and my target is this price, and then my stop is at this price. If you eyeball it, it's like a 1-to-1, which is like, cool, whatever. But maybe my idea is that I go long at this price and I think it's going to go to, we'll use the actual arrow tool. Maybe I think it's going to go up to this price. So then the RR is something a lot better, right? But it's just like the actual risk to reward is just math. Yeah,
I like to call it meat on the bone. I just look, because you can even, like you're saying, you can even visually see if there's meat on the bone there.
Yeah, the thing that I think people mess up, and the reason why I say RR isn't too important, is they will trick themselves and they'll say, I have a standard bracket of 1 to 2, right?
Yeah.
Like I risk 1 to make 2. And then it's like, cool. And then they go long right here. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter what your bracket is if your entries are terrible. You know what I mean? And the vice
you're an
versa is
options
also
trader
true.
too. And I think that trading options kind of helps you get into this mindset, because you can't put a stop on options the same way you put a stop on futures. You can't make it a 10-point stop or a 50-point stop, because just the way the option premiums work. So it forces you to watch the chart and stop out when the chart stops out, not the options premium. So that, I wonder if that's a skill, because I kind of think that way too, having started in options. And since you trade with options, do you think you got any of that from options trading?
Possibly. I think part of it too is just so I'm super adamant about journaling. So I journaled the hard way, by the way. I think it's best to like handwrite all of your kind of daily performance,
like in a paper notebook.
Exactly. I don't use paper, but I do handwrite it. I use Notion. But what I saw was that all of my risk management, when it was fixed, and I went through a phase, I've been trading for a long time. I used to have like fixed 1 for 2s, 1 for 3s, 1 for 4s, things like that. And I would get stopped out on winning trades, pretty often.
That's what gets you. It's when you get stopped out on winning trades that really gets you in gear, figuring out like what is going on here.
And so I trade like, let's just say my style now is I just wait for extremely good setups. And I tend to just, I mark it into all my trades, and I just let them cook. But I really am patient. Like this trade yesterday, I got in at 18,785 long. And even though there was all this chop, like my entry was never retested, even through all of this, these shenanigans. So if you just wait, it doesn't matter if you're trading options or whatever, like if you just really wait for that actual entry, it's going to be a lot easier to hold, and you won't be so scared of getting stopped out. A good example of that is like, imagine if I, let's go to the 5-minute really quickly, just for the sake of this example. The market's not doing anything cool. Use the replay tool, and let's say I got antsy. Right. So my entry was down here. It's supposed to be at 814, but I went long right here instead. Right. And then because I have a fixed stop, my stop loss is like, I don't know, somewhere in here instead of where it's supposed to be. Right. And then the
Yeah.
market does its thing. And it's like, oh, I should have just waited for my entry. But because I have a fixed risk system, I, protected myself and lost money. Right. And that's what happens to a lot of.
I've noticed that too. So my brackets will throw out a fixed risk just so I have something on the screen. It's again a little bit of part of my laziness because I can throw that out. I already have the attached brackets, and then I just move. But I will move them every single time I move them where they're actually supposed to be. But you brought up a good point. So yesterday we were talking about this gap fill trade. Did you take the gap fill trade? I did.
Which like shorting into it?
I bought the bottom of the gap on ES. So that was 53.95.75. And then I hung on for like 2 hours. It was
So
one of the better trades I've had in a while because I haven't held that long in a while.
I took 2 trades yesterday. So I took this short here off of this close. So this was up and down P&L for a little while, but the short off the 1 hour. I think this is like when we first started stream that I mentioned it was going to come down. I literally just held that to the POC, and then I just flipped long at 18,781 and some change, whatever that price was. And yeah, that was a multi-hour trade. But I've gotten pretty good at holding trades for like a minute now. Like especially in this environment,
that's interesting because I usually am better at holding trades longer. Lately, I've been jumpier. I think it's because I can get 10 or 20 points so easily. It's like I don't need to mess with this for an hour. But I've been trying to settle back into letting the trade develop all day, which I did do yesterday. But part of it's because I got a really great entry. My entry on ES was all the way down. I literally bought the gap bottom, so it was 53.95.75. And then I was able.
Nice, yeah.
So then, like, that was just it immediately wicked back up, and that's that great comfort feeling where it's just like, okay, this is gonna work, and so that helps me really just sit back and let it happen. Meanwhile, we are kind of getting that move up. So NASDAQ has new highs. I was watching. We got it on ES too, just for the overnight. So we're not all the way up there yet because I was really watching those other highs. I'm on too fast of a chart right now. This is driving me crazy.
All right. So what chart were you just looking at, and what did you just switch to, Barbie?
I was on the 5-minute. I put the watermarks on here to try to help with this. So I was on the 5-minute. I'm switching to the 15-minute because I couldn't see these wicks, and this is that next wick that I wanted to look at, which on ES is in the 5470s. And then on NASDAQ, it's right over 19,000. So that's kind of that next intraday resistance, basically, that I'm looking at from that move yesterday. We had that swing high.
All right. So I'm going to hop in for a sec and interrupt you.
Yeah. Couple
things for the chat. One, we've got a poll in the YouTube asking what your bias is for today. We're now about 10 minutes off the open. Are you feeling bullish? Are you feeling bearish? Are you still feeling chop? I think that's how we were all feeling this morning. Number 2 for the chat. Tell us what you're trading. What charts are you looking at? Any trades that you have on? We want to see it. Don't worry. Nobody will judge you. If the trade blows up, nobody will remember. We're here to help you. I am the voice of the chat as your host. So put whatever it is that you're trading in the chat. And last but not least, perhaps most exciting, code 30TV. That's 30TV delivers you only for folks who are watching our live stream today, 30% off our expert plan at MyFundedFutures. This is the plan that's designed for people who have traded futures before, want more flexibility, want more upside. Again, the code, limited time as we're in our inaugural week right now, is 30TV, 30TV. It's on the screen now for 30% off of expert. All right. That's my rant. Barbie, you were talking and I cut you off.
No, I also want to know, so some people were watching this yesterday, and I think all 3 of us were watching this gap level to some extent. Our guest Ash was too, and I think it was a little bit different on NASDAQ, but on ES it looked really clear to me to just kind of buy this level. Did anyone in the chat play the gap yesterday? So I think Forrest got two pieces of it. He got the short into it and then the long out of it. I got the long out of it. I want to know who in the chat managed to get a piece of that gap yesterday with us, because the bulk of that trade happened after the stream.
Yeah, it was a slow cooker yesterday. I'll say that.
I liked that though. I really enjoyed it. We haven't had those slow cookers like that recently.
Yeah, it was.
It's been hop in and hold on, and then we got that churn up. I really liked it.
I'll say this too, though. Because we've had such an erratic environment, if we do have some slow days, I do really think that Thursday is going to be a pretty spicy day, to say the least.
Yeah.
If we have muted back-to-back days, we'll see though. We have a nice green candle. This candle is pushing higher right now. It's approaching 19,000, and what's the swing high? This previous 1 hour close, 19,094. It's going to come.
I was watching for this candle to close. We're on the 15. We can pull it down on the 5 too and kind of see how our relative volume is going. See if we're really getting a slow day or not. Yeah, these are some kind of dead volume candles for a 5 minute. Not terrible. Not ideal. So that's going to make it harder for the market to make the extensions beyond any of these swing highs and things.
And something I'd like to do that Cheech alluded to, but I think it's worth diving a little more into, is journaling. What sort of journaling do you do, if any? And then after that, a little preview for the chat. We're going to talk some education. Every single day, all 5 days a week that we run this show, we're going to be doing an educational segment that runs linearly throughout the week. And so we'll get to the education in a second. But before that, let's talk journaling, and we'll get back to charts after not too long.
Sure. Could jump onto that. So I have a free little journal template if anyone wants to check that out. There's links on my channel, Trading with Forrest. But it doesn't really matter what type of journal, in my opinion, you use. I think there are a ton of options out there. There's like automated stuff. There's like I think TradeSync or TraderSync, whatever the tool is called. There's Kinfo. There's TradeZella. I still have a TradeZella account. Like I have those things. I prefer the manual version. I think the tedium is what makes you a good trader. I think looking at your trades and reflecting on them and thinking about the why is extremely important, especially when you're just looking at outcomes, right? For example, for all y'all in the chat, if you go back 3 Tuesdays ago and look at the trades you took, do you have any idea why you took any of those trades, or do you just have a number on the day, right? So it's like you might be able to remember yesterday, maybe you can remember Friday, but as you go further back in time, right, all of the decision making and the waiting and the pain and the frustration and the excitement and the fear, it just turns into a number, right? So I think, being able to look back and say, oh, I took this trade because, I woke up 2 hours early, I ate breakfast, I felt really good, I spent 30 minutes planning, and I executed according to plan, and that's why I made $1,000 versus, oh, I just made $1,000. And the vice versa is true, right? Maybe you look at your plan, maybe you lost $1,000 on the day, you look back and it's like, here's my plan, here's why it failed. And now you can actually correct it. And next time you make money instead of losing money. So yeah, I think journaling is honestly the only way that you're actually going to improve as a trader is by really thinking about what you thought. The numbers, obviously, like everything will fall into place if you journal, like risk management, improving your edge, all of that. But I do think the automated tools remove some of the introspection, so you got to be careful with that, right? If you just pull in all your trades and just look at the numbers, you don't write anything down, I think you're shortchanging yourself. So that's my little spiel.
Well, there is actually something in psychology where when you actually take paper to pen, it's engaging with your brain in different ways. And I don't know all of the scientific psychological stuff, but there is actually something there when you're physically taking your hand and writing something out, or I imagine it's the same as typing something, but when you're physically engaging with it, it's different than just having something automated. And I am a little old school. That's why I was reaching over to find. I just got a new notebook because I literally filled this one up. But I'll kind of tell my process a little bit. And I used to have my trade journal up on my website at bullbarbie.com. I was about to put it back up. I'm changing it because it was very option specific, and I want to make it more futures open to futures also. But what I do is I have a spreadsheet where I can actually put each and every trade that I take. And so that's just that's kind of the numbers part that Forrest was talking about, where I can actually track every trade. That helps me see if I have days of the week or periods of the day, if it's the morning session or the afternoon session, where I have kind of an edge. And the other thing that does is it makes me think twice about every trade. So is this worth putting on my spreadsheet? That literally kept me out of some trades when I was a brand new trader. Like, this is just such a crappy idea. It's not even worth me entering it into that. But what I do in addition to that, because that's my numbers, where I can track my numbers and things, but I literally take pen to paper and fill out. I have pages and pages and pages and pages of just little notes about, it can be technical mistakes, because sometimes it'll be, well, I could have done that a lot better if I'd had my bracket set up better, or if I'd used a limit order instead of a market order, or anything like that. But it'll also be things like I was not in the right mental space, and I could have been able to identify it by, just the mood I was in, or just whatever it was. So that's where I take pen to paper and actually write down my thoughts and things. And then I also take notes in here too, so I can have it all in one place, both what I'm learning from other people and then what I'm learning from myself about my own trading. And I agree that it is super, super, super duper important. And it'll be kind of a different system for everybody, but I do agree. Like, it's nice to have the little automated charts that TradingView and Webull and everyone else do. But when you're doing something like this or Forest process, you're more engaged with it and you get something else out of it. So that's when everyone's talking about how important journaling is, they're not lying. It really does help.
Yeah, it's a game changer. And for me, I really enjoy, I think I mentioned this, every Saturday, my routine, myself and my partner, we go to the same cafe around the corner here in Miami, sit down with my laptop. They don't even ask us to order because I get the same thing every time. They just bring me my food and I just review my trades. And that's just the first thing I do every Saturday. It's just a nice way to start the day. And it also makes you feel like you're executing at a high level, right? Trading is really hard.
You do have to treat it like a profession. It is. If you want to make professional money off of it, you have to treat it like a profession.
Definitely do.
And I can't give my Saturdays up just because of kind of my family's routine and everything. But what works for me is taking that time in the afternoon session when I'm not a great trader. I think it's usually just I'm kind of mentally tired and I've kind of moved on to what I need to do for my family later. So the afternoon's not a good time for me to trade, but it's a good time for me to catch up on all of this sort of thing. So you kind of find your own routine.
You don't trade at all in the afternoon then?
I rarely do. So it's usually, I'm not going to be scalping in the afternoon. If I'm trading in the afternoon, it's going to be placing some limit orders and things that are really slow to hit, probably managing options and stocks more than futures trading. Just I'm not a good scalper in the afternoon.
Gotcha.
All right.
I know some people are. I've got some traders in my community that just rock power hour. That's their jam. But I'm watching these highs break out here too. We're kind of at that spot on ES. I pulled out to the 5-minute chart. Let me go back to 15.
I'm regretting not taking this long when I first mentioned it, but
I did take a little bit of one, but I am so far out of it. It's kind of annoying right now. I just took a little. That's what I was talking about earlier, where this market's made me a little bit jumpy. So that's something that I'm working on personally. Is I think it's the rhythm. You get into the rhythm of the market and you can either jive with that rhythm or not. I've been having a hard time jiving with this faster pace personally.
So let's stay on and let's talk about ES and NQ a little bit more.
Yeah.
When we started our stream, what was that? About an hour ago. We were talking about a day that looked like it might go sideways. We now have some pretty significant movement to the upside off the open. What are the next levels that you're looking for? What are you looking at in your charts?
Well, it's to me, this isn't going to be super significant again because we haven't broken above yesterday's price action. That's a lot more significant to me. When we stay inside of when we stay inside of a previous day, it's like not making progress. So yesterday's high was at well, I'm basically calling it 5,500 on ES, but it was 54.97, 54.97.75. So it's really that 55 area. I've been watching that as resistance anyway. Because above that, and move back over to this chart. Wait, that's not the right one. This one I should have all marked up. There we go. So above this, I'm going to move this chart down. This is that gap. It's from the very beginning of the month. And I think that this is going to be just a really obvious target, both this level down here and then which is 55.50. And then kind of the midpoint of it, that's all the way up at 56.30. Like I think this gap is kind of just primed for a short squeeze when we get there. But like we were talking about this morning, you really kind of need some reason, some way to get there. And because that does have some distance. And technically the press release, if they have some surprise for us, that's what we'll be looking for, is a surprise, because a surprise is going to be a strong catalyst, or a fast forward button as Forrest thinks of it. So that's what I'm really looking for, to get over this high here around 5,500, which we're getting close to now. But that's what impresses me. I know this looks like, when we're on the intraday charts, this looks like it's a big, massive move, but that's why it's not impressing me total, because we're still inside of yesterday. Yesterday was slowish, and we're still inside of that.
Awesome. And Forrest, can I kick it over to you for some NQ?
Sure. Put me in, coach. All right, what do we got here? Similar story. I would just say yes, and this we're here on the 4 hour. There is, again, the same high. I have it marked up. What happens when we break this high? That's really the question. I think we'll get up there eventually. We want to see how volume comes in. Do we immediately wick off of it? Do we get up here and hold? Right. But before we get to this high at 19,390 or 387, there's a prior day high. Right. So as mentioned, prior day high and low, we're still inside of it until we really crack these levels. Any trade here is going to be a grindy, slow, like meh. These are just lower quality trades. I have like A trades, B trades, and C trades. By like default, none of these are A trades. It's just impossible because we're not interacting with any key levels yet, right? So until we get to any of these key levels, you essentially are in scalp city, which, to be honest, I could do, but not really looking to do. We do have, you can kind of see it here, this W that already played out on the 4 hour. Whoops, I pressed the wrong button. I will mess my computer up. Where did my tool go? We do have kind of this section here. So like the immediate start of the W is up here at 20,080, which also has confluence with the other side of this shelf here. So I said I could see us crack up to this level with some aggression at some point. Is that going to happen today? I don't know.
That's what I've been looking at. It's like, I'm just not sure about today, but I see these things that could happen once we get, some backing from the hedge funds and things. Once they're playing. Yeah,
I think, well, one of the things too, I realize is like the more that you say something's not going to happen today, then it happens, happens that same day. Right. But yeah, once we get some volume
that's
in,
that's the law. Yeah.
Right. It's the rules of trading. This will never happen. It's like, oh crap, it happened. I should have full ported. Made $1 billion.
Well, I noticed the poll. Is the poll still going? We've got a lot of people looking bullish today, more so than sideways.
Got bullish, sideways.
I'm still
72%
watching
bullish.
Yeah. I lost my daily chart. There it is. I'm still watching this EMA, the 21 EMA on the daily. It's always been one of my favorite watches. So I'm still on the NASDAQ chart here. So that puts it at 19,170. And if I go over to ES, it's thinking, but it should be around 5,500. There it is. Showing it 50. Well, I don't have an exact amount. 5,505. So that's kind of, I think a lot of people are going to be watching that level too, that kind of EMA level, as kind of the first clue that not the first clue, but a clue that we're confirming this kind of bull thing. What I was watching last week is this was forming a bull flag, and then we could potentially break out of it. It's kind of an ugly bull flag right now, but that is kind of the consolidation pattern. We had a little bit of a break of it, and then to see if we break it again. But yeah, we'll see. If we say it's definitely not going to break out, then it will. So
ES did. Let's see here. Have my iPad on my lap with more charts open, so I don't have so many time frames on one screen. But whoa. ES just cracked the end of day level yesterday, right? So 54, 79, 25.
And that's, it seems to have, it's reacting off of there. And then we've got the morning session high, or it was after that drop, we had a little high up there. Another little swing high is above it. But that one's pretty wicky. So we'll see.
We'll see how this 15 closes. We've got 2 minutes till 10, which is going to give us a nice 2-hour and a 4-hour candle. 2 hours is going to close high volume engulfing green. 4 hour is going to close the nice little bottom wick. These 4-hour candles are pretty interesting right here too. We've had very, very wicky candles, right? So the story of like all this chop we're talking about, you can really see in this time frame of just indecision, back to back to back to back to back, and they're kind of just getting tighter and tighter. So we'll need to see something change. I think this all goes back to
so we had all those big candles on the 4 hour. I was looking at that one this morning. We have these big candles on the 4 hour, and now they're getting super, super tight. This one, we're putting in a bigger one right now, though. Let's see.
Yeah, I think the story of today is 1 o'clock. It's gonna be choppy until 1. There's no other tier 1 news today.
The problem with the chop right now is these ranges are so large that I think a lot of people are they're getting stopped out really hard.
Yeah, I can sort of tell by some of the chat that both on X and on YouTube, that because the ranges are so large, you've got a lot of folks trying to trade them. Getting stopped out and inside.
We're streaming on X?
Yeah.
You got
400 people on X right now.
I'm an old man. I don't know anything.
I should pay attention to my account over there, I guess.
Formerly known as Twitter.
All right. I'm going to change it up a little bit. Again, to everyone watching, we are going to do an educational segment every single day. This is the show that is set up to try to make you a better trader, help you achieve the success that you are looking for. So, of course, we're going to talk setups, ideas. We're going to talk what you are trading. But we're also going to run an educational segment each day, and some education that really builds on itself, not scattered, but more linear progression of education. And so, Barbie, I'm going to kick it over to you to take us through your educational segment, and then we'll come back. We'll pull up some charts and look at how we're heading off into the day.
Well, I wanted to keep it simple today because I know that the basics can be boring, but they're also really important. And this is one of the questions that I get more than anything, is which time frame is best. And I end up kind of answering this just accidentally as I'm going along a lot. But what happens is, so if I'm on the 1 minute chart for the ES for today, and I'm just looking at this, I don't have the context of what's happened before. So I have my little lines that are automatically plotted here. I left those on just so we can kind of see where these price action bars take us. But when we're diving into this, we just don't have a lot of context. So the only levels that we can really see to manually plot are this low down here. This isn't even really a high. So while you can actually enter off of a chart like this, you don't really have the context to be able to place your stops properly and things. So that's when I'm flipping around the different time frames. I don't think that there's one that's best. I think that there's one that will help you see what you're looking to see. So that's the first thing I'm looking for, is which chart can help me see. So earlier I started out on the 5-minute, and I told y'all that I couldn't see what I was looking for on the price action from yesterday. So this blue shaded area is the overnight. So all I'm able to look at on a 5-minute chart is how the price reacted overnight, putting in that little pre-market high and that little pre-market low. This is not a lot of information for me. Then as soon as I go out to the 15-minute, this box is old. Let's take that off there real quick. As soon as I zoom out to the 15-minute, suddenly I get all this extra information, and this seems really basic, but I really want to step y'all through this so you understand why this is important. Now suddenly I can already see the context of where today's move is. And this is where I can see really quickly and really easily that we're all within yesterday's 15-minute price action chart. So I can really easily see that we're still within those highs. So that's why when this move looks really big way down here on this 1-minute chart, if it's actually stretched out properly. So like Luke was saying, oh, we've made this really big move. We've made a really big move on the 1-minute chart, but on these higher time frames, it's going to start looking smaller and smaller. So on this, and this was even not a very fast day. On this chart, it's already looking kind of more normal. So that's one of the ways that I kind of look at which time frame chart I'm looking at. But then sometimes there's other time frames where you can get some different information, like the 30-minute. Since we open on a half hour, if you want to divide it into its smallest little bit, that's going to be the 30-minute. So we have the New York Stock Exchange just opens on the half hour, closes on the whole hour. It's going to be half hour blocks, so we can really break it in. So if you want to, what am I trying to say here? Pare the market down into it's like fractions from elementary school when you're trying to get that common denominator. Like the 30-minute is where you're going to get the most clean breakdown. So that's one of my favorite to watch, to where we can see the different candles open and close. So that's another one that we can get some good information on. But then when we're actually doing analysis, the reason that we end up, I'm going to turn the magic lines off for a second because now they're getting distracting. But the reason that we're all the way up on usually at least the 1 hour, but then we'll go to the 4 hour and things, is this is what really puts it into context. Now we can see how little that move actually is compared to the dramatic days. This was a record-setting day. This is a dramatic day. So just actually spending time on your time frames and stop trying to pick which one's best is kind of my big tip for you here, because every single one of these time frames has more information. So which one is the best to trade off of? So when you're all the way down on the 1-minute, we had a 1-minute flag break here. We've got another little flag break there. There are trades that you can trade off of the 1-minute. The thing that you have to think about is there's going to be more of them. So here's a little flag break that didn't really work down here. There's another one that didn't really go anywhere, all in the 1-minute. Another little flag break that was kind of weird, probably would have stopped out down here. You're going to get more trades, but less quality. So then you start moving up the time frames. This is going to filter your trades out some. Just moving up the time frame is going to help filter them out. So now all of a sudden we're going to have fewer trades, but they should be higher probability on the 5-minute. And if you enter on the 5-minute, you're not going to be if you're entering on the 5-minute, you're exiting on the 5-minute too. So we're not going to be jumping in and out in every single one of these little movements. We would be just literally getting in and then holding on. If I'm talking about a flag break, since I was using that as an example earlier, if we're playing this flag break, we would be looking for a larger move and a slower move. So the higher the time frame, the longer and the slower move, which brings me to another point. A lot of traders ask, how do I hold on to my trades longer? And it's to get off of this chart. I promise. This is the secret to holding your trades longer, is to not trade on the smaller time frame charts. The higher it's a time frame chart you find your play on and take your play on, the longer it's going to play out. So like this one yesterday, I was actually watching it on the 15-minute. I was watching it on the 5 too for kind of some details, especially when I was entering. But I was able to take this whole trade or watch this whole trade on the 15-minute. And so I'll show you what that looks like. So here's the 15-minute entry down here. And then I was able to just kind of keep trailing this up. I think I got stopped out around this candle here, one of these. But I was able to make this whole move because it's just these candles that I'm watching. Whereas if I go all the way down to the 1 minute, I hate how TradingView moves you. Okay, so we were way over here. This is the other reason I don't like the 1 minute chart. Keeps me too busy. I'm gonna get to questions in just a second too, but where were we? So that's 95 buy was in here. You see how this would have this little downturn could have scared the crap out of me, and it would have gotten me out for 5 points, where I was able to take it for closer to 60. Oh, is it how short are you? You're asking the Jibas one. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. I just wanted to give you some perspective on both what time frame is best and why that varies so much, and also how you can kind of use it to hold your trades a little bit longer. There's my thought dump for you.
All right, a couple questions for you. Will you just take us through it really simply, like a 1, 2, 3, which time frame you start with when you're getting going in the morning and where you're ending?
Yeah, so actually when I get going in the morning, it's probably the daily.
Okay.
And if it's a Monday morning, it's probably the weekly, because I'm really looking all the way out here. Something I noticed yesterday morning is we had put in a green candle for last week. This is the biggest green candle we've had in a long time. So again, that's putting me into perspective. So for analysis, I'm always up on these higher time frame charts, the weekly, the daily, the 4 hour, because this helps me see what a big move is. And when I talk about the market being productive, I'm talking about making some sort of getting to a new spot. And I can see really easily on this 4 hour chart that we're not in a new spot yet. We're all kind of inside. We'd made this big move up and then a retracement, and we're still inside of that retracement. We haven't made it back to the top of that move yet. And that really helps me put everything that's happening today into context. And that's why I can say coming on in the morning that today doesn't have as likeliness to have that breakout power, because we're really this is what we're doing until we are able to enter another mode of the market. And we need some sort of catalyst to kind of get into that other mode. And so that's when I'll kind of come down to the 1 hour and kind of do some checks and kind of see the same. Then when I come down to the 15-minute and the 5-minute, where I'm usually actually trading off of, I have the perspective of the upper markets. And let me add my levels back on here. I'm on the wrong chart for levels. I need to pull up. I keep my levels on the actual contract chart, so they're easy to clean up. But so then after I've marked it up on these higher time frames, so I'll show you what that looks like on the hourly. On the hourly, these levels are spread out. And then when I go down to the 15-minute or the 30-minute, I can zoom in and see these levels a little more clearly and play them intraday. But I know these levels are going to be strong because I got them on the higher time frame chart. So it's basically like I'm taking an entry on the higher time frame chart by using these levels, but then watching the lower time frame chart to really key in on a precise entry.
Awesome. And then talk to us a little bit more about the 30-minute. You mentioned the 30-minute being especially clean. It reminded me of the
this might be a little bit personal preference. I know a lot of traders like to watch the 1 hour and the 4 hour, but sometimes I like to see every single little block divided out. So I think this is from Dalton. Did I get this from Dalton? Somebody help me out.
That might help him out if he likes the 4 hour.
Yeah. But I think I learned this from Dalton, because when you're watching market profile, you can watch the blocks, how the volume forms in each one of these blocks, and then you have a block for every set. You've blocked off the day into equal candles, And so this is just another chart that I kind of like to watch intraday because I can watch kind of each little block of time. Because we're moving over time and price. So those are both inputs. I think we're always so focused on price, we're forgetting to watch how time works too. But that's why these candles and the wicks and things look different on different time frames. But I really do value these 30-minute dojis and things just because they're divided up so evenly. So intraday, I really like watching the 30-minute as well, even though I'll take my analysis on higher. But yeah, I'm interested to see why Forrest is a big fan of the 4-hour.
Why? I'm just lazy. I like to do as little work as possible.
That's been the theme of the stream today. Is how we trade lazy, right?
Here's the thing, right? So I've been trading, and like I'm in my mid-30s. I'm a busy guy. I own a if anyone wants to check it out, there's a studio here in Miami called The Move Miami. We're a big podcast studio. We do all types of stuff. I enjoy fitness, being outside. You know, my time of sitting at my desk all day, every day is long behind. I used to do that, by the way. I put in, probably thousands of hours.
I think that's how you learn and how you get confidence and how the market works. Yeah.
Yeah, like hunched over, and like I have literally no desire to do that. Some days I do, like I love trading, so like I'll sit here all day. Like sometimes I will do that, but like I don't plan to, nor had a desire to. The 4-hour also gives really good trades. So the way I talk about time frames is I want the highest best signal. So if I can get a signal on a 4-hour, that's going to allow me to leverage up. One of the things I did do this year, because I've been trading my personal account for a while, is I did increase my leverage quite a bit on all my trades, but I also increased the time frame. So in my system, I can't really have an A trade unless it's on like the 4-hour or higher. A lot of the trades I take too, I'll take off the daily. Like if I see us touch a level like on the daily chart, line profile wise, I'll just mark it into a trade and I'll hold it for 4 or 6 hours, however long it takes to just hit the other side. But yeah, to your point, like, the 15 is a really good time frame. I used to trade it. I have a lot of videos talking about the 15-minute.
If you want to hold a multi-hour trade, the 15 is one of my favorite. But that's why there's like no best time frame. It kind of goes for what you're looking for, whether it's analysis or entry. And
yeah, I would say higher time frame is better, just because it allows it's less information to deal with. Would be my only.
That's that think smarter, not harder mentality, though. And I'm with you. Like the whole reason that I wanted to trade is because real estate burnt me out, and I don't want to sit around doing it all day anymore. And I take my weekends real seriously because I didn't used to have them. So
okay,
I think you live and learn to value things more, and there's definitely a work smarter instead of harder in trading.
I think also just like the actual money you'll make. And this is the real kicker, like you'll make more money doing less. And I think I said this yesterday, like if all of my biggest days are when I took like 1 or 2 trades. It's never when I was trading everything. It's just take 1 trade and hold it all the way and be done.
And you can't do that on a 1 minute.
No, absolutely not. There's no way.
Okay, that said, could I ask you to zoom into maybe like a 5-minute? We're now
Me?
Somebody.
Blasphemy.
It doesn't have to be you.
I can go to a 5-minute.
All right. It's over to you, Barbie.
ES5.
5-minute.
Take us away.
Yeah, I mean, talk us through it. I mean, we've got several candles. We're moving sideways. Do you have any opinion on this? Does this mean anything to you? Are you still looking for the 5,500 on ES?
Well, we have to get out of the 5470s to even talk about that, since we've got that level overhead. But this is still playing into the choppy scenario, really. So I can actually, what I'll do is I'll do another time frame over here. So I'll put ES. So I've got the ES on the 5 on the right hand, and I'll put the 15-minute over here. I'm just going to let Forrest be the NASDAQ master. But even though we've met this swing high from the afternoon session, which was important, clearly, because the market is really slowing down on it, we still have another one. We actually still have 2 highs from yesterday that I can see on the 15-minute that we haven't put in yet. So even though I might watch the 5-minute for some little entries or something if I'm scalping down here, right now this is the regular trading hours VWAP. That's why it's starting after this extended hours blue shading here. And so like just watching here, I can see that that's the pattern that we're in at the moment. And I can maybe potentially trade some of that, but these targets are not very far away because we've got that swing high and that swing high. I really do think we're going to have a catalyst to break us out of here. You can see we even had kind of some decent volume yesterday morning, a little bit more than we've had right now. So as here it is rejecting right off of there. The market's just not ready yet.
I will say on the 5, even though it's not something I would execute off of, you can look at it and just like how the volume profile is developing. So we are building some value up here. So we came up here, we stayed above the value area high for a little bit. We built out this node. So all that means is that a bunch of people are transacting up in these prices. It is peeling off. We swept this high, right? So it is. We
just broke that little VWAP pattern that I mentioned.
Yeah, it's coming back, and we're probably going to come down to back in this node, or again, because it's still pretty early in the day. I wouldn't be surprised if we came all the way down to like 54, 38 area, right? Let's take a look at NQ, see how similar they are. Pretty similar, so a little more stretched out. We built a ton of volume up here. We have this node here from the overnight chop. Right, all this got built, so all these people that are hanging out here, positioned here, we're probably going to come attack them next. And then our point of control is still lower, so yeah, I would not be surprised if we just fully ranged across all 3 of these and started to fill this in, right? And so this will probably start to become more normally distributed today, coming up to 1 o'clock would be my anticipation. So.
Sometimes if you've ever been on my stream before, I'll put the market in a pink box of shame, and that's kind of exactly what I would be doing right here. On ES, it would be really this opening range we've had. So from about, where are we, 54.45 up to that high around 54.85. That's just really kind of a range that we're in.
Yeah,
so
and I mean,
talking about those mini ranges, it's really hard to trade that stuff. I know people do, but
we basically just have, like, if you look at the candlesticks too, like this chop, like it's very obvious that this chop. So that's why you don't really want to be a breakout trader, folks. If you're always waiting.
I'm a breakout trader sometimes, not today.
Yeah, I mean, I take the trades when there's confirmation, but you know, the market usually isn't breaking out. Is kind of the classic saying. It's obviously very subjective and contextual, but yeah, choppy day. Basically what we've been saying since we got on. You know, probably going to chop range. And
I see someone asking if we trade gold. I will dabble in gold. So the way I kind of look at it is back to.
Will you pull it up, Barbie? Do you mind pulling it?
It's like the thinking smarter, not harder thing. If I focus on ES, I mean, I can find a trade on ES every day. Sometimes the quality of the trades on the indexes kind of slow down, like when we're in some geopolitical nonsense or Fed nonsense or whatever. And so I like to kind of have my alternative markets that I can watch, and gold is definitely one of them. So it's kind of in the backseat waiting for when I need it, along with crude oil. So crude and gold are kind of my secondary markets because I can day trade them. I can use options to trade them with, GLD and ETFs and things. And so I can day trade it, I can swing trade it, and it works really great. It's kind of an extra market to watch. And I brought up yesterday or at some point recently that gold has just been charging forward again, or charging ahead. So there's definitely been a lot of activity over there. Crude's been a little harder. Crude's way down right now. We're at 61 today. I think the highs are in the 90s.
And are you spending time looking, like doing a quick check of gold and crude every day?
Not every day. It's if things are slow on the indexes, then I'll tend to watch, because ES and NASDAQ can keep me busy. They really do. So especially lately, there's been some times where the indexes will just be dragging and not giving us much range and being really choppy for a week or two. And that's when I'm kind of more looking at the other charts. But Yeah, the indexes do keep me busy, and that's back to that being, I mean, lazy is probably not the best word for it, but I don't want to spend more time than I have to, because I get a lot of questions. Why don't you trade Apple more, or just why aren't you looking for more stocks? And I don't need to. I've got ES, I've got NASDAQ, I've got the Mag 7, and then if I kind of have gold and crude as my backup, that's already a dozen things that I'm watching. So
This is actually a pretty, like, I don't know if it's contentious. I definitely disagreed with some traders on this. Like, some people take a very broad approach where they're looking for their setups across the market. And I'm more of a, and I used to do that. But I'm much more of a, think like you, like I just focus on a few tickers. Like I'll look at gold and oil, and like normally when I look at them, it's because somebody brought them up to me, and I'll take a trade if
yeah,
I see one. But like I 100% do not wake up and like scan
I
the
keep the
market.
crude chart up. So I have a chart. I can show one similar. This one has 6 on it, but I have one because my monitor is a little bit bigger that has more. So I even have bonds and things on and crude on here, but I'll kind of be watching a big chart like this just to kind of keep an eye on everything that's going on and see what kind of piques my interest. And they're color coded because I'm lazy, and I know that pink is NASDAQ and green is the dollar and things like that. So I can look really quickly. But yeah, I found it really stressful to have a good scanner and all this stuff, and to be trading something that I'm not real familiar with. So even before I found futures, I was sticking to the same handful of stocks. And so I was trading options, but I would trade Apple, Disney, Tesla, and AMD until it got banned. But I would just stick to that handful of stocks. And I built an account up from hundreds of dollars to, day trade friendly, over 25,000 doing that.
Nice.
Among other things, but
all right, and I'm gonna send it to each of you for some final thoughts as we're closing in on our last 6 minutes or so here. But before that, chat, a couple notes for you. Make sure that you subscribe on the YouTube channel. For everybody watching on Twitter, we're gonna have a link on, formerly Twitter, now X. We're gonna have a link to the YouTube account. Make sure you subscribe there. Tomorrow is our big kickoff where we'll invite all of our communities to join the stream. There might be some giveaways tomorrow. We'll have to see.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's a little tease right there.
I want free stuff.
Yeah, sorry. If you're on camera, you can't win. We'll figure that
But we
out.
can give it to our friends.
You need a burner account. Yeah,
I don't like this.
Yeah, see. Second, for today, for everyone watching in our inaugural week, we do have code 30TV. That's 30TV. We'll get it up on the screen here in a second. That is 30% off of our expert plan. That is the plan for folks who need a little bit more flexibility in their trading. They want more of that upside, designed to help you take it to the next level. All right. And with that, I guess, Forrest, I'll go to you first. Final thoughts before we depart.
Yeah. So we very quickly traversed down to value area low, like I mentioned. It's pretty magical. Just ranging across, see if this fills in. This was a pretty fast move, though. If this bottom wicks, I would say it's probably going to do an in-shape bounce higher in the afternoon. But we do have at 1 o'clock, let's just mark that on the chart, actually, do a command V vertical line. So we're probably going to chop up-ish into this time, right? 1 o'clock, which is someone talking. But yeah, same thing, right? So came down, traversed down to VAL, value area low, let that load. It's a little bit lower here, but traversing that node. So given this little drop off here, I think that, yeah, we're going to continue to range or do this in shape bounce higher. If this fails to come down and retest these lows, like if this is the last test at these prices, then we're going to push higher into the afternoon for sure. I'll be looking for that, and then I'll probably be looking to take some action around, these prices or these prices up here. Other than that, that's all I'm doing today.
All right, Barbie. How about things on your end?
Well, from my morning notes, we haven't really had the move that I was looking for yet on kind of a broader sense. So I want to see this gap area from the other day hold. So as long as this holds, this is my bear trigger down here, is we'd be getting through this zone. So as long as this zone holds, I don't think that we're going to be looking for any major move lower. It would just be kind of these smaller ranges or smaller moves within this range. We definitely have a range getting established here this morning. So I'm looking really just, especially until 1 o'clock, to just probably stay inside of this range. It's if we start getting above this level, and especially 5,500, that's when I would be looking to target up here around 53.30, 53. The market's been moving too much. I keep losing our levels. 55.30 and 55.50 up here. So it's really kind of the same idea, just watching for either you can kind of play this range in here, or you can really cross your fingers for a breakout, but it's probably less likely today in either direction. But we're definitely kind of, as long as this area holds, that's a win for the bulls.
All right. I appreciate it. Final thoughts on the day. We would like to wish everyone the most lovely trading day ahead. Again, reminder, we're going to have some comments coming out of the White House at 1 p.m. Eastern. That's something that both Barbie and Forrest mentioned that they're looking out for. Could be a big bag of nothing. Could be something a little more exciting. TBD on that front. And I'd like to remind you that tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, we are going to be back here live on the stream. We're doing this Monday through Friday. This is the show that's created not only to entertain and to engage, but ultimately to make you a better trader, help you achieve the success that you are looking for in the markets. So be active with us, chat with us, comment with us. And if you have not yet subscribed, make sure you subscribe for tomorrow. We're going to have the whole community here tomorrow. We're going to have some giveaways tomorrow.
Giveaways.
Yes. And last but not least, MyFundedFutures CEO, Matt Leach, is going to be joining us live on the stream. So make sure you tune in. Happy trading, everyone.